Just some guy talking here, and one of the interesting side effects of doing these videos is that it really gives me an opportunity to reflect on myself and what I think, why I think it. As I do that, I discover new things about myself, about how I think, maybe see things from different perspectives, and my mindset evolves in a way that I don't know if it would if I was just having these questions in or conversations internally. And I have, over the course of creating some of this content, delved into a bunch of issues that are important to me, like communication, particularly in these crazy, sort of divisive political times, emotional issues, grief, etc. And in my last video, I talked about what our personal responsibility is for some of the things that are in our lives. Like, are we doing things or um, thinking about things a certain way that invites a certain kind of interaction or relationship or context to surround us? Are we attracting certain things by things that we have some responsibility for? And so I did this crazy thing, and I took my own advice and asked myself, what are some of the things that I have responsibility for with regards to some of these issues that have been important enough for me to make a video about. And I did focus on communication and specifically that idea of debate, how that breaks down, how frustrating it can be to have conversations with people who have a differing viewpoint, differing opinion about things that are important to me, specifically things like politics or racism or even environmental issues, which I haven't touched on a lot, but they're very important to me anyway. And one of the things that I'm realizing is that there are a lot of people, I would say the majority of people out there, who don't think about this stuff as much as I do, or care enough about a particular issue to become educated on differing viewpoints, fact check, etc. And how that is, again, a frustration in terms of interacting in those conversations with people like that. And I realized that even just that statement that I just made, that people don't care enough to learn about stuff, has this undercurrent of judgment that kind of sets the tone for the way that these conversations can go. So let me explain what I'm saying. I don't know why people don't care about this stuff, right? In my mind, this is really important stuff. You should care. This impacts you. This should be important to you. But the fact that they don't doesn't shouldn't automatically have a negative connotation. I don't know what your life experience is, what that person's life experience, what the context of their life is. Maybe they have a lot more important things to worry about than some of the more arcane um, aspects of politics, whether it's in our country or in general, or they just don't have the time or the resources, emotional or otherwise, to do a level of research that would allow them to engage in a conversation with me at the depth that I would like to be able to engage in that conversation with them. And it started me thinking about, again, personal responsibility for how frustrating these um, conversations can be. And the fact of the matter is that if I'm walking into this conversation and somebody demonstrates that they don't have a solid base of knowledge about a particular topic. They don't have the ability to respond to some of the points, and that inspires a certain reaction from them. Maybe they get defensive, they get angry, they get, they start, in with ad hominem attacks, etc. It's very easy for me to say, well, that's their fault, right? But I'm sort of ignoring the fact that I may be setting that context for the conversation up by having, again, this underlying current of judgment, because how could you not care so much about this stuff that you would know enough to have, an in-depth conversation about it. And the question then becomes, how do I adjust? And I don't know what the answer is to that yet. Like I said, this is kind of an evolution for me. As I do these videos, I think about this stuff, um, more in depth than I maybe normally would, because I'm trying to put it together in a way that is palatable, understandable to people who may or may not know me, who maybe just be stumbling across this video by accident, or maybe somebody sent this to you. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know this: me being able to be more compassionate, empathetic about the possible reasons why somebody might not have spent the time to learn this stuff can only help. Because if I am not approaching these conversations with judgment for what the other person does or doesn't know, or where they do or don't get their facts, um, even if I'm not kind of explicitly describing or articulating that judgment to that person within the conversation, it's still there. It still permeates the air of the conversation. And if I can eliminate that, what does that do to those conversations? Does it make me being able to share my point of view and elicit a better sense of what their point of view is easier? I think that it should, right? And I will keep you posted on how that works, but I really wanted to share this kind of mindset that I'm trying to adjust towards. Maybe um, the the difference in the conversations will yield results more like what I wish that I would have. Maybe if the conversations that people have with me about topics um, that I consider myself to be well versed in, rightly or wrongly. Maybe if I had those conversations with a different mindset, with more empathy, with more compassion for the other person's lack of knowledge and what the reasons are that they may or may not have, you know, owned up on the facts for this issue, I feel like that just can't not make a difference. Um, so I'm going to try it. Maybe you should too. Maybe if you start just looking at these conversations from a different perspective, um, and eliminate that, like I said, undercurrent of judgment, of I know, the fact that you don't know this stuff or anything about this says something about you, and I don't like it. If you can eliminate that as the subtext of what you're trying to explain or talk about with somebody, um, maybe that'll help you too. And if it does, let me know, because more of us trying it might yield a better data set that we can analyze and use to adjust and the way that we communicate and make it better. I'm just some guy talking, and I will talk to you next time.